everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Linda, the scrapbooking photographer, and today I'm taking part in a new hop which is set to take place every week in January at this stage anyway, and it's called Get in Shape, hosted by Shannon Blinn from Scrapping with Shannon. And this week the shape we are looking at is circles. So as a close to my heart person, I thought I would work with the circle die cuts that Close to My Heart put out. Now if you have a catalogue, you can find them on page 38, and they come with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different sized circle thin cuts, ranging from 3 inches down to 1 inch. And in New Zealand, their price is $29.50. So this is the little beauties here. I'll just show you what else I'm working with. I've got some periwinkle scraps, my 2 white daisy pages for the layout, which are going to be backed by sapphire, because the photos I'm working with are of my dogs who were given for Christmas a splash pad, which is a circle shape, so I thought it was quite timely really. And I'm going to use the circle thin cuts to make a circle out of one photo, and the rest I've cut into sizes that I think will work. I sort of got this planned a wee while ago, and now I can't remember what I had planned, so we'll see how it comes together. But the upshot of the story is that none of them were particularly keen on the splash pad, but they did like to sit in the shade and watch the water. So we'll see what we can come up with there. I've also pulled out these different designs of bluish type paper. So what I'm going to do first is take my circle thin cuts and cut a whole heap of shapes out of each of these. So I'll start with this one on camera and then do the rest away from the camera. Okay, so we've got our A plate, the silicone mat, and 2 B plates. Now, in between the 2 B plates I've got the paper, and then I'm going to fit these circles on however they best fit, so that I can cut them all at once. And it doesn't really matter if they move about a bit, so we'll just put that through and see what we came out with. Cool. So there we've got 5 circles in that paper. Now I'll just whip away and do the others in the other patterns that I showed you earlier, and I'll be back in a tick. So I've got my 5 piles of different coloured circles, and I'll keep the offcuts. They might be handy for something else or in another project, so I'll put them in the scraps file. And I'll make sure I've got all the circles on the magnet that they come on. Pop them to one side for now. Now also, while I was off camera, I gutted the back of the 2 sapphire pieces of cardstock, and I've trimmed the 2 pieces of white daisy down. So they're going to be, if I put them on the right way, there'll be a 1/4 inch frame all the way around. So what I did to get that was take a 1/4 inch off one end and 1/2 inch off another, and that gives us a 1/4 inch around 3 sides, with the middle meeting at the join. So now I've got my base ready. I'm just going to do a little bit of stenciling on there, so I'll keep these out and make sure they are up the right way, and put everything else to one side and grab a stencil. That's a stencil here, which you can see has a bit of a splash look about it, and I want to pop that in a few spots behind the photos and things, but to do that I need to know where the photos are going. So the next thing I'm going to do is try and remember where I had these photos. I put them in order of the story. You can see here that this actually was one photo, but because I wanted it to match in with the 3 smaller ones, I've cut it in half, and I'll just spread it out a little bit like that. So if I put some splash there and perhaps some up the top there and down the bottom here, we'll see how that looks. The first bit of stenciling I'll do will be going towards the middle of the double page layout. Now that hard outline of the stencil is because it's made for cards, so it would fit squarely onto a card. But I don't want that harsh square on my scrapbook page, so I've just overlaid it a little bit to make sure it's hanging over the side. And when I go on the right hand page, I've mirrored it, and so turned the stencil over, so the splash is going to also go in towards the middle of the layout from that angle as well. And then I'll do a couple more, one down in the bottom right, with the stencil splashing out towards the edge of the page, and then again on the bottom left of the left hand page. So you can see by putting the edge of the stencil over the side, I don't have to worry about the squares there, but I do have to be careful on the inside that I don't get too many straight lines. So that's all done with the periwinkle ink and the matching blending brush. And then I can put these with the sapphire backing, and that's starting to look good. So the next thing I'm going to do is just go around the outside with the foam dome, and I'm using periwinkle ink to do this. You could use sapphire so that it matches with the backing cardstock, but I've decided to go lighter with the periwinkle, and I don't think it really matters at all. So when I bring the photos in, I'm going to change the format a little bit because I really like the splash, so I don't want to cover it all up. And this little one here, I'm going to use a circle fin cut. It's just a matter of picking the one that is the right size. I think I can go a little bit bigger. Yep, there we go. So I'll cut that out quickly on the machine, and I can actually use one of the bigger size circles that I've already cut out of the sapphire to give it a little bit of a frame. And that then leads me to think that the photo behind it should be framed as well, and that will bring it down over the top of that stenciling, which is what I would prefer to do. So I'll just quickly mount that in the sapphire, and then I can put the circle one over the top of that, and I'm actually lining up the deck lines so that it's all going the same way as the bigger photo. When I go over to the right hand side, obviously that one needs to be mounted as well, so I'll do the same thing there. And then arrange these 3 smaller landscape photos the way that they best go. Now I did toy with the idea of having 3 down that way, but I think 3 in the corner looks better and it leaves that splash a lot clearer. Then I can take all of these circles and I spend quite a bit of time arranging them. A couple of things that I discover on the way through is that the dots, which you would have seen me shift from the top right, the dotted ones look best away from the photos, because when you put them behind the photos they almost look like their dots are in straight lines. I'm going to use the light coloured blue, which is the periwinkle cardstock. I'm going to use that for some journaling, so I do change things around a bit on the way through so that I've got some clear spots to write what I want to write. I'm really looking forward to seeing what other people in this hop come up with for using circles in their layouts. I think next week's shape is chevron, so that will be interesting too. But there'll be a playlist, so make sure you follow along and see what other people come up with, because it's always interesting and different and inspiring. And of course, we all appreciate your likes, comments and subscriptions, so don't forget to do that too. Now, you can see I've got these 3 extra periwinkle circles, and that's going to be the start of my heading. I have nipped away and stuck everything down
So the circles might be in a slightly different place than they were before. And you'll see here that with this other big circle, I decide to stretch it over to the second page, and that will help link the two pages together just like the circle beneath it has done. Because the cardstock is two-sided, I've used the lighter side of the middle circle just to give it a little bit of variation. So now that everything is stuck down and the white daisy is stuck to the sapphire backing, I can turn my attention to the heading. I'm using the alphabet called Colour Block, which has the lower half of the block letters in a solid colour, and to me it kind of looks like there's water on the bottom of it. And I'm just going to call the page Splash Attack. So I'll stamp those two words. I had to restamp that one to get the S right. Luckily it didn't muck anything else up. And then attack I'm doing in two bits, so the AT obviously I need again for the second part of the word, so you can do it that way. And then I'll chop them up into different pieces. Now the attack is going to have the CK on the second page, so it's going to stretch it across those three circles that we had. But I will put a darker piece of the figured blue underneath it to highlight everything. So once I've got that the right size, I can trim it, and then I'll also have to cut a little piece off to fit onto that second page. So I want that to be in the right place. So I measure that precisely with my thumbnail. But before I stick that down, I decide that I want to add a little bit of shimmer to the circles behind. Again, just to add a little bit more interest. So I take those circles off and shake some of the sapphire shimmer brush onto it. So that will give it a little bit of a shine as well. Then I can stick the blue piece down and then the words on top. It all fits quite well, except I do end up with a little bit more of a gap at the beginning than I would have perhaps liked, but I can easily fix that with placing another circle at the front, and I quite like the way it finishes it off anyway. You'll see now that I've nipped away and done the journaling on those lighter blue pieces, which I said I was going to do, so that tells the story throughout the two pages. And then as the final touch, as always, is to add a few little gems to give a little bit of a sparkle. So I've got two sorts there, one, the glitter gems and the silver gems, so just sprinkling them around in groups of 3. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video and seeing the circles come together. If you'd like to copy it, pause the video and take a screenshot. You're welcome to scrap lift me anytime. I appreciate all of you who have subscribed, and if you haven't subscribed yet, perhaps today's the day. This is all I've got left over, those 3 little circles. So thank you for watching everybody, and happy crafting.